This is Pete on the line.
Hello, Pete.
I couldn't decide what I wanted to talk to you about today, so I've decided to leave it up to you.
Exciting. Choose your own adventure.
It is a choose your own adventure. So, both of the
Bandersnatch.
The topic areas that I bring to you, we have talked about before. So this is like a continuation of the latest events in this subject area. And one is a disgusting new evolution in food, and one is a disgusting evolution in robotics.
Well, I don't like disgusting food, but we did do robot sniper dogs last week, and that was a rough technology. So, nope, I'm going to stick with robotics.
Oh,
because robotics don't make me want to throw up.
Yeah, that's
usually.
Right. So here's the thing. I'm actually kind of glad you chose this one because I think this is a real need-to-know kind of situation for people.
Okay.
You talked last week about the robot dog that has a giant cannon on its back, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good boy.
But at no point did you mention that there was any sort of disconnect between the robot dog and its robot handler, right? It's still a robot person who's wandering the little dog around.
You correct.
Yeah. Okay. Not in Libya.
Uh-oh.
Sometime around March 2020, the long-standing trope of science fiction, autonomous attack drones attacking human beings on a futuristic battlefield, crossed over into science fact. That's when, during the Second Libyan Civil War, the interim Libyan government attacked forces from the rival Haftar-affiliated forces with Turkish-made Kurgu-2 Hawk-2 drones, making the first reported time an autonomous hunter-killer drone has targeted human beings in a conflict, according to a United Nations report.
Wait, I have an immediate follow-up, because I don't know what one of those words means, and I think it's the big important one.
I think it is.
Autonomous means no human is pressing the button. They would just like
yes.
Go
I'm
out.
So glad you said that. And let me continue. It's the good stuff. Unmanned combat aerial vehicles, loitering munitions, and Cargo-2 hunted down and remotely engaged half logistics convoys and retreating fighters. The UN report found the autonomous drones were programmed to attack targets, quote, without requiring data connectivity between the operator and the munition.
That is fantastic. Humanity, no notes. You're doing great.
You're doing great. This is it. We've turned a real corner here. Because the weapon has always been, at least in some respect, connected to the person firing it, right?
There's a finger on the trigger, even if the trigger is a button.
And a million bazillion miles away, right? I mean, it could be somebody in the desert of Nevada who is controlling a weapon in the Middle East. We know those stories, right?
But still, there's a person.
We've programmed a fleet of drones, humans have, and sent them out and said, if you see bad guys, kill them. We don't even really need to know about it. Just go ahead and do it. We'll read the after-action report. I can't.
We made a Roomba. And then they're like, let's put a revolver on it.
Yeah,
that's like my Roomba I stopped using my Roomba because it can't figure out my kitchen floor. It just gets stuck and falls over.
Sure.
And so we're just going to put guns on them now. That's terrible.
Yeah. That's like saying, hey, you know what would make it better is if it had a Facebook account and posted hate speech after the fact. It's just so bad. It's so bad that this exists, that this has been done. And most importantly, that somebody says, hey, I'll bet we can make this even better. Somebody's out there saying that right before they twirl their mustache.
Yeah. This is going to be all in an inevitable book or report called Everyone Saw It Coming. Welcome to What's That Smell? A sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Tommy Mess III.
And I'm Pete Wright.
And every week we each drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Reach out, y'all. This is the second to last episode of this season, so get those anxieties a brewing if you want to make the list. Reach out to us. Go to whatsthatsmell.net, click the big button that says submit your anxiety, and then just start typing. We'll take all comers. We'll take whatever it is, just words and letters, grocery lists you have written down here. We'll take it all. So go to that whatsthatsmell.net, and then we will all figure out the smell together. Gross. And with that, I'll go first. Pete, as I just mentioned, this is episode 11 of 12 for season 6. And there's one thing that I used to do a lot that I haven't led you on this entire season. And I think it's time to do another visualized meditation.
Oh my
journey.
God.
Is that what we used to call them? I don't remember if that's what we used to call them.
That was a guided meditation.
Guided meditation. Yes. Okay. Yeah. But this one, because it's season 6 and season 6 is all about twists, I just decided, is I want you to share your level of relaxation or lack thereof.
Okay.
Stress, anxiety, when I add each element to this scene. Okay.
Okay. And what terms would you like me to use? Like, what is our scale of anxiety?
Oh, which DEFCON is the worst?
I don't know.
DEFCON 1, I think, is the worst.
I thought DEFCON 1 was the worst.
Okay, so 5 is feeling great. DEFCON 1 is you're in trouble.
I'm going to start. I'm going to start at a slow boil at a 2, just because that's today.
Already 2?
I'm already 2. You haven't even started talking.
But 1?
No. All right.
No.
For the sake of this bit, I'll be a 5. Okay.
You're
ready. I'm ready.
And okay, ready?
And
take
go.
A deep breath. And you're entering a room.
5.
It's filled with people.
4.5.
You don't know any of the people.
3.
But you have a good friend with you, so you're not alone.
3.5.
And all of the people in the room are there for the same reason as you.
Cleary 3.5.
Okay, and then here's the last one. Did I mention you're there to network?
1. DEFCON 1. Half star 1. Are you?
I love it.
No.
I wanted to write that out because my anxiety spiked just hearing the word network, and I said it.
I'm surprised you didn't swallow your tongue. We've already covered you can't do that, but that might be the one word that makes me do it.
Exactly.
Because I don't have.
Can do it. I can do it.
I don't have business cards. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Networking, and I'm surprised we've never talked about it because clearly we're not alone. I typed in fear of networking into Google and I felt my laptop get physically heavier.
It cringes.
That's how many
the metal compresses.
Yeah, it immediately just gave me like a cake recipe. It's like, look, just try this. Just do something. No.
Right.
Networking is the worst. And I was thinking about it a lot this week, based on nothing. There's not a lot of networking going on in my life currently. But I realized one of the things that really hits me about networking, and networking, everyone knows what networking is, right? It's like going out and do business functions to try to make contacts and stuff for business things. It's so frustrating that I have so much anxiety about it because it involves things that I'm actually good at.
Yeah.
Like meeting new people, albeit if I have an ally in the room. That's why I wanted to give you a friend.
But clearly it doesn't matter.
But having a friend and then having conversations, I'm good at all of those things. But then when the networking, when just that word shows up, all of a sudden I feel disingenuous is what it is. I feel like I'm so obviously up to something that I don't belong in that room of people. And I'm just going to come off as like a used car salesman.
Yeah.
And they're going to they're going to be turned off by all of my obvious thirstiness.
Yeah.
Is my feeling. And so I just immediately freeze up, and I hate the idea of it so much.
Do you do that like when you go, because you have been to networking sessions, you have done it, or you wouldn't know how much you hate it, right?
Correct.
Do you do the thing where you pull up and you don't get out of your car for way too long? Do you do that?
I have before taken an old trip around the block.
Yeah.
Like I can't just sit there because then I know that I'm just sweating through my shirt. And so I'm like, there's a parking spot right out front. Maybe there's one inside.
I am
and so
totally, I really want to go into this session, but what if I have to catch Pikachu in this game that I have on my phone? What if Pikachu is here? What if I have to do? I'm going to clear the area of all the Pokemon, and then I'm going to go in. Yeah,
anything.
Right after I watch Avatar on my phone, I have to watch Avatar right now.
Avatar, the whole thing. That McDonald's, I wonder if they're using paper straws or if they've gone back to plastic. I better find out right now.
That is my experience right there. That's my experience.
100%.
Yeah.
And then when you finally do go in, it doesn't get better. Like I just feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
I make up this fiction that they are all confident pros, PROS. Obviously, they're not confident poets. That was a dumb synonym to point out. Yeah. And they're all like, they're just like trading briefcases and they're all just very good at doing things. And I'll walk up and I'll be like, hi, I'm here to work net. Damn it. Like I'll immediately mess up the word network. Did
you ever do like a Toastmasters kind of a thing? Have you ever had to do anything like that?
What is that? I've heard of that, and I've actually never bothered to find out what it is. I assume it's where it's like a public speaking class or club where you get better at giving talks.
Oh, that's also my understanding, but I've never done it myself for many of the same reasons that we're talking about right now. Like the idea of doing that. And I always paint myself into a holier than thou kind of a place. So Toastmasters is all about like, you're gonna practice extemporaneous speech. Like you stand up in front of people you don't know.
You're giving a toast.
Yeah. Right. And you'll learn how to present and you'll do it in a way that's engaging and they teach you how to be a narrative sort of storyteller. And I always tell myself like, I'm fine doing that. I'm not fine doing that. I hate the entire environment. Why would I be good at that? Like, I just don't have the experience that a lot of people do.
But it's so interesting you say that because I think you would be naturally extremely good at it. And I feel like I've seen you do things like that many times in the past. In different groups and things that we have been in together, sometimes we have been shoved to the front of the room, per se, in order to give some sort of speech or do a bit. I'm talking right now about the a cappella group. But still, that doesn't change the fact that you don't feel confident about it. That's really what we're getting it into.
And so this gets to the real issue. I think that the situations you describe, there is a purpose to it, like a performative reason for me to be there. And when I am in a situation where I have to network, I usually don't believe that I have any authority to be there in any capacity whatsoever. Not a little bit.
And what you're saying then is, and I have some tips if we want to get into tips, because there's so many tips from places. My favorite tip, just real quick as a sidebar, my favorite, LinkedIn has a page about how to overcome networking anxiety. Guess what their number one tip is? Start digitally. Fill out an entire LinkedIn. And I'm like, LinkedIn, you idiot. Your first tip is come to us LinkedIn. And give us our money.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Right.
They're like, and really just like, practice linking to other people on our site. And it's like, you're an idiot.
Well, that's it. I do think that there is like, I don't want to complain because I know there are people who hunger for networking sessions. And I was a member of, I can't believe I'm actually outing myself as a member of this. Business Networking International, BNI, in a former life, right? And so my recollection of BNI, if I have the right association in my head, I was a member doing, like, I represented my organization, and I could be the only person recommending my organization, like in my field, in this networking group. And so every networking group, you were the only person that represented your field. So if anybody else in the networking group had a referral for the service that you represented, they would all come to you.
Wait, is that better or worse? Because it's taking away competition, but it's also putting an enormous spotlight on you.
It's not only as an enormous spotlight, it's an enormous amount of responsibility because you as a member, if you are welcomed into a group, you have to bring a referral on some frequency. I don't remember what it was. Like you have to bring someone else in the group a referral all the time. And that freaked me right out. I am sure there is value to a great BNI group. I struggled with it because I felt like such an inferior imposter, like disconnected. I'm terrible at it. We have friends who are extraordinarily good at this. Like they work a room, and I have never felt like I was that person. I feel like I went to the last time I went to a networking session. It was a web developer thing, and it was probably 2 years ago. It was at our local Squarespace office. They were having a networking open house, and this show is not sponsored by Squarespace. Do you hear that, Squarespace? Yeah. And so I went over there.
We're the only podcast
not sponsored by Squarespace
or Stamps.com
or Casper Mattresses.
What's holding up?
Are they still in business?
I hate the post office. Come on, Stamps.com.
So
bring it.
I went over there, and there is a turn. Have you made the turn? Like you go into a networking event and you feel terrible, and then I'm sitting there in that chair, and suddenly a wave comes over me of aggression. And that aggression turns me into a networking monster for a very short time. It's like I reach boss level, and it's all I can do to collect as many business cards as I possibly can. And I say, I'm sorry, I'm out of business cards. And that's my line. I'm out of cards right now. I don't have any more cards left because I networked them out of my hands on fire. But I need yours, and I'm going to scan it for you right now, and I'm going to be in contact, and we're going to network, and we're going to find synchronicity and stuff.
You are in X Games mode.
Yeah, I go into that's incredible. What I do. And then I walk out, and I like kind of lean up against the planters and kind of pass out a little bit. I black out afterwards and forget who I was. It's the mask. That's what it is.
So you're just running through the fire.
I do. I just run through it. I like go hardcore. Hey, we should find some simpatico. We should definitely get some parallel blue sky ideation between our two organizations. We should really just network. No. Do you want to network? Let's network. That's what I do.
So you're also like a morning zoo DJ. Would you like to network in the fuzz?
Would you like to hear my Bill Clinton? I can do a Bill Clinton. Here, let's go ahead and make some prank calls together. It'll be great.
I love a good hacky network. That's perfect. That is interesting. I don't know if I do the nervous talk too fast thing, and my fear of silence skyrockets.
Sure. Oh,
and so
that's there's
fear. Too much. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Digging deep. How is networking not a season one? Why didn't we just do an episode about networking and then get off this dumb podcast? Because it really does. It's a fear of silence. It's imposter syndrome. It's social anxiety. It's so many things all wrapped up in a room with terrible appetizers and canapes.
Yeah. If that anymore. And the worst part is you've really pushed a button for me. The worst part is the follow-on, because then there's always the thing where you get back to your desk, right? You get back to your desk and say you have a bunch of business cards. Say you did the networking just fine. What happens if you open up all your social media and nobody connects with you?
Aww.
What happens then? You are unnetworkable. That's what it feels like. You are a pariah. You are a networking pariah. You did it wrong. You broke it. Pete's boss mode did not play out well. And now all he has is business cards and no online connections.
And then you start remembering like, oh, I just kept yelling, give me your goddamn card at everybody. And most of these that they gave me are like coupons. They clearly didn't want to get a hold of me.
How did I not see this dry cleaning receipt?
There's so many dry cleaning receipts.
Mongolian grill. What is going on?
I agree. And then there's an added bonus when you are in the entertainment field.
Yes. Talk about that.
Almost everyone in the room is lying. Like they're all producers. They're all directors. They're all like when we were shopping 30 nights around, we had to go to the AFM, the American Film Market, which we cannot afford to go in. There's a real moat around the AFM if you want to get up to the actual people upstairs. It's held in a hotel.
Oh. So you get into like a room, one of the suites. They have a suite.
And there's a zillion suites, but they're all upstairs past this velvet rope called money because there's just too many randos that are like, I have an idea, Titanic 2. And everyone's like, that's a terrible idea. But then a lot of the quote unquote business, or at least the joke is it's all in the lobby. Everyone just shows up free at the lobby. And so we went there and spent like an hour. Yeah, I was emotionally drenched with emotional sweat and real sweat.
And real sweat.
It was rough.
Legit.
Yeah, because everyone is just so much of Hollywood, unfortunately, is just pretending.
Yeah. And is
that
it what
you've
that
already
is? It,
done
is it
things.
really true? Did you find any action in the lobby? Because I've always heard that.
No.
I've always felt like that's a wives' tale. Like the reason you say the real action's in the lobby is because you can't afford to get into the real business.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. No, and we didn't find... The only thing that I've ever gotten from networking that I know of is friends. And that's okay. And so, wait, I guess that is networking.
That's not a... you just described exactly the purpose.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I guess you don't have to work with people that you connect, or you don't have to like the
Right.
people you connect with. But you did
Correct.
just make
That's
a
the
really
difference.
solid case.
Yeah, because when we would go to film festivals, if we had a short film in a film festival, that's where I met one of my good friends, Jill Efron, because her short played in the short package before mine, and I saw a bunch of people group around her as if it was a popular short. So I just went up and straight introduced myself, and then we've worked together. Oh, that is networking.
So do you want to take
Okay.
this last 20 minutes back? Because really what you've done is outed me as a hot mess.
No,
And you're
what I want
fine.
no, because that's one time. That's one person, and I've never been invited back to a film festival since.
Okay.
One that does segue, though, into if people are like us, and yes, everyone is like us unless you're a sociopath, is I found some things. There's a website called The Muse, and it just had 4 or 5 little ideas. We don't have to go through all of them, but I think we've already uncovered some of them. And these just made me think about things in a different way.
Okay.
Number 1, spotlight effect. Of course, remember that almost everyone in the room feels the same way.
Yes.
They're
they
all
are
nervous, too.
And they are all looking at you. Wait, is that wrong? Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, and it's weird that you network at a spotlight convention. It's a terrible idea. Because everyone's just
Oh my
shining
God,
up.
spotlight salesman must have a rough life.
Number 2, and this was the one that I just realized in real time, reframe networking as having a conversation. That potentially the problem is that there's the word work in there.
Yeah.
And so you
And
immediately
net.
go in with your backup.
Yeah.
And so just having a conversation, because that's what I ended up doing. And then I'm going to skip past some of these. Bring a friend. I love that one. Bring a friend. Don't fall into the trap of just talking to your friend the whole time, but just having an ally in the room makes a world of difference to me.
Okay, I get that. And I would also say that I don't know that I would ever trigger networking boss mode, if I brought
Right.
a friend, because I would be too embarrassed to showcase what garbage I can be socially in front of people that I really do already like and hope like
See-
me back.
So
Like-
you'd have to be like
Yeah.
public consumption, Pete. instead
Yeah,
of-
I would never take you to a networking session because I like the veil of innocence that you have not pierced with me in our
Yeah.
relationship. And if you saw me networking, I really worry that you would leave me there. You would just walk out.
I do want to meet networking Pete, though, because I think the one problem that I see with networking Pete is when you finally leave, you're just eating the business cards. You're just shoving business card after business card in your mouth, going, network, network, network. And then you go home and you're like, I feel sick and full. History is filled with unlikely heroes. There was the 8-year-old female gorilla in the Brookfield Zoo near Chicago who acted quickly in August 1996 when a little boy lost his footing and fell into the primate exhibit. The gorilla's name was Binti Jua, which means daughter of sunshine in Swahili, and she lived up to her name by cradling the unconscious child, then carrying his limp body next to the entrance of the enclosure where he was carried to safety by zookeepers. The boy made a full recovery. Then there's Zavi Ahmed, a 5-year-old in East Sussex, England, who discovered a baby locked in a smoldering parked car. When he called the authorities, they were able to break the vehicle's windows, but the police were too big to fit through the window, leaving young Zavi to crawl through the window and bring the baby back out with him. Best of all, Zavi Ahmed loved superheroes and at the time was famously wearing a Batman costume. A real-life superhero indeed. And finally, there's the story of Robert, a New Jersey man who in 1864 fell off of a train platform in front of an oncoming train. While horrified onlookers looked on, as they do, another man named Edwin reached down and seized Robert's collar, dragging him to safety at the very last second. This act of heroism would probably be forgotten today, if not for the full names of the two men. The man who fell was Robert Todd Lincoln, son of then President Abraham Lincoln, and his rescuer, none other than Edwin Booth, the estranged brother of John Wilkes Booth, who would later take the president's life. You didn't think I'd do this without getting another Civil War thing in here, right? History is filled with unlikely heroes, and sometimes even the smallest acts can have heroic results. Did you know that you can be a hero to Pete and I today? And for only $35, hey, you Supermen and Superwomen, why not save the day and become a Panic Pal right now? Go to whatsthatsmell.net and it'll show you all the new things that you're going to get. You'll get early access to episodes, special episodes that nobody else even gets to hear other than Panic Pals. You'll get certificates of best friendship. You will get stickers. You'll get a whole bunch of coupons that are emotional legal tender to give out when you're feeling the shivers, all sorts of things. And most importantly, you will have Pete and I's adoration like the superhero that you are. We love doing this show, but it is not free to put on, and we could really use your support. For $35, you will help us support this season, season 6 of What's That Smell? And with that, on with the show.
Tom.
Yes, Pete.
Do you worry about your skin?
Yeah. Because I've had some run-ins with skin problems.
You have?
Yeah.
What kind?
I had, when I turned 40, my body was like, seems a little too happy. So I developed cystic acne in my face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's cystic, meaning it looks like you're a burn victim. People react to you like you're a burn victim. Like they'll go, oh no, what happened? Because it doesn't look like real acne. And you have to take nuclear option pills like I did called Accutane. And that is made of nightmares.
Yeah, it's bad news. I did Accutane. I had that problem when I was younger. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Do you have any remnants of your experience with cystic acne?
Remnants. Scars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, but it's fun because I can't tell which ones are chickenpox scars and which one are cystic acne scars.
You've got a real bouquet then of like history.
Yeah, I'm a real haunted house, Pete.
Do you have any,
on the inside and out?
Do you have any other kinds of scars? Any other, I don't know, bites, or like were you ever attacked by a shark or a dog or a baby?
No, I have a scar on my arm that I used to tell people I got in a knife fight, but I actually got it playing tennis.
Weirdly, the opposite of a knife fight. Okay.
Yeah.
I have one. I have one on my inner thigh that was a wart that I had burned off.
Ooh. Okay.
It looks like a gunshot. And so I tell people I was shot right around the knee. But it was
that's fun. And you actually got a wart playing tennis.
All of this is a setup to, as you could probably guess, Tom, a listener submission.
I did not guess that, but I'm elated.
You should have guessed it because it's literally written in the script. Pete,
fair enough.
Listener submission.
Got it.
Okay. It's possibly, how do you pick your favorite child? But this one's on top right now.
Okay.
One of my favorite. One of my favorite.
Okay.
Okay. Listener submission. Here we go. Guys, I've been listening since Ep 1, and you're doing great.
Oh, thank you.
I think you should. I can't believe I'm reading this right now, and I almost want you to go into to our little listener submission database so you can read that I'm not making this up, because it's so important that you hear it and that it resonates with you. I think you're doing great. Next sentence, I swear to God, I think you should do more guided meditations. I'm serious. I'm serious.
Oh, no!
Those are crazy. I still listen to the one about Tommy in a construction zone.
That was the first one, or one of the main ones. That's perfect timing.
Okay.
That is amazing.
Going on. This kind of relates to my anxiety. There's an actress I've seen in a number of things with a scar on her lip. Okay, she's a pornographic actress. I said it. All caps. I have watched pornography. Parentheses, checks the keep me anonymous button. Okay, moving on. She has a scar on her lip. I don't judge scars, but I can't get it out of my head how much I'm terrified of having scars on my own body. Growing up, I never popped zits because I was afraid of the scar potential. I think that's potential. I think the actress is beautiful. obviously. But when I think about her scar, all I can think about is what I would be like if I had a scar, and it, all caps, completely freaks me out. My hands are shaking right now typing this. What the hell is going on? And it is signed period, no period, from the email address I worry at mymomlistens.to-this.
Wow. Scar anxiety.
Yes. Scarring.
I've
Have you
never heard of such a thing.
Of this?
Yeah. No.
Okay. You will
So
be
we finally found someone who's completely alone. Just kidding. What a terrible thing to say.
A terrible thing to say. Especially because they are so not alone that there is actually a term for it. Like there are terms for other, anxieties that are random, not the big, the big six.
Yep.
It is called ulinophobia. Ulinophobia. Ulinophobia.
Ulinophobia. Okay.
Yeah. It is the fear of scars. Scars are permanent remnants of injury that occurred on the surface of the skin that many people don't want. So this would be a fear trigger. Sufferers would want to remove scars by putting something on it, such as a cream or paste to soften the scar, right? That's kind of where people go if they have a fear of scars. So I think this is really interesting because it's one of these, do we call it a meta anxiety? Everything I've read about it is that ulinophobia is like a gateway to other anxieties that are unspoken. For example, agliophobia is the fear of pain or suffering. Fear of pain or suffering. That ulinophobia, when you see a scar and are triggered by it, you might actually not be terrified of scarring in and of itself, but terrified of the journey that the scar wearer took to get there.
Right.
What do you think about
so
this?
You're relating it to fear, not fear, pain.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about all this? Have you ever had any scar issues?
The face stuff that I brought up, I don't want to re-bring up the entire thing, but it did not look like acne, and it looks like a little bit of a chemical burn that I had, and so people would feel okay bringing it up. I think most people treat regular acne like you have something in your teeth and you just let it go.
Yeah.
Or like this. But this, they'd be like, ow, or like physically recoil or say what happened. And so that would really make me very self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
And then I'd start feeling my face because people would say things like, that looked like it hurts. And that would remind me that it hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have that sort of connection to it, if that's kind of the area that you were looking for.
Well, sure. I mean, I think any area is fertile ground to till. In this particular thing, like I have other issues with things like I don't really have a fear of scars, but I definitely understand the trigger to the pain reflex, and that is a thing that I have seen scars and lightly, like on movies or horror movies sometimes, and recoiled a little bit. Just naturally, because I'm not thinking, ooh, gross. I'm thinking, oh my God, ow. Yeah. What did they have to go through from here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that gets into, some of the problems with especially we talk about movies all the time. I mean, there's another big flare up around Rami Malek's character in No Time to Die, because it is yet another Bond villain with a facial deformity.
Oh, is it?
On it.
I haven't known. Okay,
and
I haven't seen it yet.
There is an association that has come out and said, why do you have to make all the bad guys with scars on their faces? Because it stigmatizes exactly what you said about your situation with the acne. It stigmatizes the stuff that we have to wear on our faces through no fault of our own. It stigmatizes the presence of those kinds of things, and so why do you have to constantly associate it with evildoers?
Right?
Why can't James Bond have some sort of a facial thing on?
Sure.
And
I never really thought of that. That's a really good point.
It is a great point.
I think it's a good point.
Well, it's a fair point. It's a point.
It's a point. still want you to get off your high horse.
So this is the barreling through. So the same usual triggers, right? The physical symptoms, the sweat. And I love that No said, my hands are shaking right now as I'm typing this. That trembling, the sweating, the hot flushes or chills when you see something that is so triggering. That's a hallmark of anxiety, right? Of course it is, right? You get that tightness in your chest, you get the dry mouth or the numbness, all of the things. But this one presents a more challenging case because it might not be what you think it is. You might have an underlying fear of the other thing. And that's why this is one of those anxieties that they recommend strongly that you get help for this. You talk to somebody with some sort of get some talking therapy. Go see a therapist who can help you walk through this and potentially get some medical intervention. Right? That's
because maybe it's not about scars. You're saying, or there's something stronger, or because my stuff hides under things all the time.
Yeah, lots of hiding, lots of hiding under things.
That is kind of ironic because a scar is something that is very present. And you can see right away.
Yeah.
But if it's, it could be related to something else. Yeah, because I'm having trouble. It's a sign of pain, but it also can be a sign of like you did something wrong. Like it's a visual representation of a choice. I wonder if there's shame involved with it.
Yeah, I think it is. And that's that's a really interesting point that you bring up too, because there is ulenophobia does not have to necessarily be triggered by being in the actual presence of somebody who has a scar. It can be a strictly emotional, like mental trigger. You can just think about a scar and go into that like emotional space, right? You can just be reminded of and go into a panic mode, just thinking about what might have caused a scar that you find terrifying. So, I just pivoted off of something that you said that isn't actually related at all. Sorry about that. Man, I heard your point and I dodged it.
Do you want to dodge it for a reason?
I don't even remember what you said now. Who is this?
That there's something, in addition to the pain, there can be a shame element. That if someone has a scar, like this came up to me because you brought up the Bond villain, they probably are doing bad things.
Yeah, right.
And that led them to be hurt. I remember sometimes, because if you don't understand cystic acne, some people would say to me, why don't you just change your diet?
Oh,
meaning I'm eating so gross and that's why I'm having grease. But that's not how cystic acne works. It's not like regular acne, but they were now thinking that it's because I'm so unhealthy or so unclean that I have these things. So I wonder if that also has part of it too, that not only are you being people recoiling because of the pain you went through, that there's also judgment.
Yeah. Possibly. I think that's probably a lot of it too, right? That there is this experience of just knowing how people look at any sort of physical, like, I don't want to say deformity. Abnormality. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Any sort of even minor disfigurement can be looked at as something that might cause shame. And so just even thinking about like this scar might cause shame in others is something I can take on myself. Like that's something that I can somehow own because of the anxiety train that I'm carrying around. So I think that's I thought that was really, really interesting. But the general gist in terms there aren't really tips, but get help, because a lot of people, and this is one of the grand warnings, is a lot of people who have this fear don't talk about it and they don't get rid of it, and they never talk about it. They just try to avoid it, which makes you can't help when you run into somebody in the world who might come bearing a scar, any scar, right? And so, you might just cross paths with them, and that makes your risk for a panic attack or some sort of anxiety-related response that much higher if you don't approach it and if you don't lean in and try to resolve what the issues are that you have around it. Maybe it's ulenophobia, maybe it's agliophobia, maybe it's some other related thing. You want to figure out what the root of it is so that you don't surprise or unconsciously shame others as a result of your own fear. And it is imminently treatable, but you have to actually take that first step. So that's ulenophobia. And I love this listener submission so much. I really
Thank you
do.
very much. Do you know what our listeners' least favorite actor is?
No.
Peter Skarsgård.
I was almost sure it was going to be Scarlett Johansson.
We're both 4. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. This week's tune is Sugar Sweet by Zach Sorgan. Coming up next week. I was so excited about it. So that's like my version of going above and beyond, even just thinking about it and making plans and then realizing I don't even know how to sneak out of my house. Denial, anger, bargaining, deli meats. I don't remember what the I think
I'm just trying to imagine, like, what other podcast would you tune in and hear? I really like Rick Astley, but I truly celebrate his later work.
I know. I'm so undated. What's the opposite of Tinder? That's what I'm making this podcast. And I don't put us in a category, of course, as having trouble being vulnerable. This whole podcast is, as I've already just told you.
We're the Brene Brown of dumb white men being vulnerable.
Exactly. Yeah. With a Brene White.
Until then, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Mess III. Thank you for downloading. We'll be back next week with our final episode of Season 6 on What's That Smell?